The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you. What's up, fellas? This is Dennis Sperling, and I'm back again, and we're going to have another conversation tonight. And we are going to have a conversation about one of our own queens. We have been talking about Black history, and as you guys know, I'm a proponent of teaching Black Americans the Black history that we really need to know about, the history that starts before the intercontinental slave trade. So here's the thing. I want to show you guys a place called Nubia. Napata and Mero were, Mero was the capital of Nubia before, or Napata was the capital of Nubia before Mero was. On the map, this is what it looks like, okay? Now, I'm going to take you down from Egypt, or Cairo, which is right here, forgive the screen, and we're going to go along the Nile River, all the way down, and see where it hooks right up in here. Those are those two areas that I showed you. All right. And at some point, the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet right about here. This is in Sudan. Now, Sudan's history is fascinating and so often overlooked in favor of Egypt, who were only as successful as they were because they got the nice part of the Nile, which basically did the farming for them. Okay. In other words, every year the Nile would flood, and it would basically saturate all the water, all the land on either side of the fertile soil. So they didn't have to do any work. But the bottom line that you need to understand is African civilization started down here in the heart of Africa. Now, just so you can kind of know where we are, Africa is a huge continent. But remember, we talked a few weeks ago about the Mali king. We talked about Mansa Musa, who traveled from Mali, which is over here, all the way through Niger, Chad, up to Egypt. And then remember, he had that meeting in Egypt and Cairo. And then he went down here to Mecca, where he did his Hajj, right there in Mecca. So what I'm telling you, all of this is the darkest part of Africa. So Chad, or Sudan, I should say, this is Africa. This is the dark-skinned, broad-nosed, thick-lipped, sub-Saharan Africa, because the Sahara is up here, right? Libya, Algeria, Egypt, they try to claim that as Arab territory, but all of this is definitely African, and they can't get around it, which is a reason why they don't often talk about it, because if they do, then they'd have to talk about the rich Nubian history, okay? Now, here's the thing. The Nubians themselves, at one point, they were around for 2,000 years BC, basically. And Kush was an ancient kingdom in Nubia located between the Sudanese and southern Egyptian Nile Valley. This beautiful kingdom has been greatly overshadowed by Egypt and its magnificent buildings, famous pharaohs, and astonishing ancient artifacts unearthed in the land of the pyramids. However, in ancient times, there was also a sophisticated civilization living in the kingdom of Nubia. Kandake Amanirenas was a queen of the ancient African kingdom of Kush, who is best known for skillfully defending her kingdom against the armies of the Roman Empire from her throne in the capital city of Mero. Now, we talked a little bit about Mero, and this is where Mero is right here. So let me try to blow this up a little bit. So as this is the Nile River, and this is where the Blue Nile and the White Nile meet, this is her capital. She basically defended her homeland against calling shots. She was a shot caller. She led the Kushites north to engage to Romans. Amanirenas was the most prominent Kandake, which basically means queen or monarch, and reigned between 40 and 10 BC. So she basically reigned for about 30 years. She was most revered for leading the Kushite armies into victory against the Romans after a five-year war. She was initially victorious in her attempt to reclaim Roman Egypt for the kingdom of Kush. However, she was driven back by Petronius. She was blind in one eye, but it didn't stop her from gathering an army and attacking Roman Egypt. The conflict between her kingdom and the Romans had lasted for 5 years, and it was time to end something about it, turning the outcome of the war in her favor. So when the time was right, she made a decision and launched an attack on Egypt. Basically, what this queen did, what this African sister did, and I have a picture of her via statue that I want to show you guys. This is what the queen could look like. This was a picture of her. Okay. And the thing you got to understand, just to put it in context, this was at the time of Cleopatra, and when she was messing around with, I forget what's the name of that general. I forget his name. Oh my God, I can't believe it. My blank. This is the time of the Cleopatra that we all know about. When Alex? Oh, I can't believe I forgot that name. It'll come to me in a minute. But this is at the point where she reigned. So basically, Rome had conquered Egypt, and she turned around and conquered Rome. I mean, she turned around and bypassed the Roman army and went to Egypt and booted them up out of it. The story of Kandake Amanirenas shows the strength of an African woman who led a kingdom and conquered the Roman Empire, which other kingdoms bowed to. Mind you, the Romans were kicking everybody's butt at this time. This was the heyday of the Roman Empire, and this African queen lit them up. The entire story of the Kandake Amanirenas is just a shadow compared to that of the coming king, who was as a stone rejected by men in the days of his flesh. Will cut out a stone without hands, set up in the earth, mountain, brick. Okay, so we'll deal with this a little bit later on, but bottom line is we have a rich history. The story of this conductor, or the Queen of Midas of Kush, is one that gives clear clue of what the true African woman is and can become if she gives herself a chance to remove the veil of lies that portrays women as weak or less. African women were not weak women. Okay, this is something that, Julius Caesar. That's exactly right. Thank you so much, Alexis. She reigned in the time of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. So that kind of lets you know, they had come down and Julius and she had unrolled herself up and, rolled herself in a tire and a rug and everything, was trying to make that white man happy. And, this queen of the Kush kingdom, she wasn't having no parts of this. She wasn't rolling out nothing for them. She rolled them up and got them on up out of her homeland. But the thing is, as I said, when we talk about strength, when we talked about real strength, these are the type of African women that rule. So, you want to talk about a queen, this is a queen right here. However, this story is not featured as part of our story so that African women can learn how to be warriors and military fighters. Not all. It is intended, however, for the African woman to know that, like her foremothers, she is strong. She carries the ability to do great things in and for African people. As an African reading this, your mother, sister, wife has been made to look weak, unreliable, primitive, dull, unintelligent, for those who think our forefathers lived in trees. But that was a lie, and that was never true. So it's important, brothers, for us as men to take the leading role and reintroduce our Black women, our African American women, to who they really are and what their ancestry is. Remember, this is the continent of Africa right here. All right, it is rich with diversity, but for the most part, remember, you can go from this part over here, which is where the vast majority of our people were taken, all up in this. And I excuse it for moving like that, all up in here. And then you go down to the Congo. right? This is another place why people would take down to Angola. All of this is all interconnected. It ain't nothing to get from Sudan to the Congo. Look at that. They actually touch each other. You see what I'm saying? These in the Sudan to Chad to Niger. These are all our people right here. This is our heritage. So you need to understand who your people are. You see, they had rivers that could lead you from the coast, the west coast or the Ethiopian Sea, all the way up in here to Mali and Niger. This is how people travel. You see what I mean? We had traversed this whole continent. This was all ours. This is South Africa down here. This is Kenya. You see what I mean? This is Ethiopia. This is South Sudan. That's the Sudan. Again, this is where the capital of Kush was right here. You know, this is all ours. So this is all our history. So you have to reclaim that. But in the meantime, I want you guys to kick back and go look at this little video that I found online and just enjoy it. We'll enjoy it together. I'm going to turn the noise up, turn the sound up. If you appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you hit the thumbs up button as you come in. All right.
Queen who conquered the Romans. The Nubian people can trace their origins to the land of Kush, in what is today known as Sudan. Their northern neighbors, the Egyptians, referred to Nubia as Tassit, which means the land of bows. This is because Nubian hunters and warriors were known to excel as archers. Among the Nubian people, archery was not limited to men, as women too exhibited matching prowess. This gave rise to a number of women Nubian warriors and queens, the most famous of whom was Queen Amanirenas of Nubia.
Listen how beautiful that now is saying, Amanirenas. What a beautiful name. There should be some people out there who name their daughter Amanirenas. What a beautiful name. Listen to him say it.
Of the Romans. Queen Amanirenas ruled the area between the Nile and the Atbara River between 40 and 10 BC. She was the second queen of the Kush kingdom and was popularly known as Queen Mother or Kandake, the title given for a ruling queen. Her reign coincided with that of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who ruled in Egypt. When Emperor...
So again, at the same time Cleopatra and Mark Antony were ruling Egypt, Queen Amanirenas was ruling Kush, and she wasn't having no part of being conquered. So this is something that they don't talk about. Why don't they talk about Queen Amanirenas at the same time they talk about Egypt? Why don't they talk about the fact that African women were archers? They don't talk about that. This is what strength looks like. A strong African woman, a strong Black woman. This is what a strong Black woman is. Not being able to talk loud and be belligerent and disrespectful, but to rule a kingdom. Let's continue to listen.
Caesar Augustus of the Roman Empire defeated the Egyptians and made Egypt one of the provinces of the Roman Empire. He decided to expand further south into the kingdom of Nubia.
So basically, Rome was out there conquering the world, and they said, yeah, we just conquered Egypt. Egypt just rolled over. We got them whooped on. They're going to be paying us gold and silver and taxes and giving us slaves and paying us tribute every year. We just going to go down here and conquer the rest of these Negro folks down here in Nubia. And so we're going to, Caesar said, well, yeah, go on down there, Mark Antony, and conquer them too. And let me know how. Hit me on my cell phone after you got it done, right?
The Nubian queen's husband had died during an earlier battle, leaving her and her son, Prince Akinidad, to continue the fight. When Queen Amanirenas received the news of the impending Roman attack, she had to think swiftly and strategically, because Kush was much smaller than the Roman Empire, which meant that it had a smaller army.
Okay.
So she decided to take the battle to the Romans by launching a surprise attack. Amanirenas led an army of about 30,000 Nubian soldiers, armed with swords, bows, and arrows, to fight the Romans in Egypt.
So what did you learn that she did? They would never have thought that this smaller army would attack a larger army, but that's what she did. She fought them. She brought the war to them so she could do what? Keep them from pillaging and
Queen
destroying.
Amanirenas led her army from the front, with her son by her side.
Did you hear that? She led the army from the front. This queen, this black queen, was out front with her son at her side. This is how they fought this war. Let's continue.
Her surprise attack was highly successful, and she captured 3 major Roman cities. As a statement of their victory, her fighters went on to deface many statues of Emperor Augustus.
Now, mind you, they had brought statues down to Egypt. They got Emperor Augustus down here, the Caesar. They got this white Roman man sitting up here with his face on all these Egyptian in these Egyptian locators. So what do? They just tore them down, beat them up, hit them with hammers, and knocked them down. This is what they did.
Augustus was extremely angered by this. Rome retaliated by invading Kush. The Romans destroyed its old capital and sold thousands into slavery. The Romans claimed victory for defeating Kush, but the war was not over yet. Amanirenas counterattacked quickly and repeatedly with what must have been terrifying war tactics. A historical painting depicts her with 2 swords, feeding captives to her pet lion. Another narrative claims that she used war elephants on her enemies.
Now, where have we heard that?
Amanirenas counterattacked.
Where have we heard war? Where have we heard war elephants before? Huh? We've heard that before, y'all. I'm gonna give y'all a clue, right? You know who that was. He took the war elephants over the Alps. But this is, imagine that you in Egypt. Every time you think you conquer these people, and then these Nubians come back and conquer you. And then what is she doing? She's cutting off parts of these captured Roman soldiers and officers and feeding them to her lions. This is what she's doing.
The battles between Kush and Rome continued. During one of them, Queen Amanirenas was blinded in one eye by a Roman soldier. After
this sister's out front fighting, she's fighting with men, right? She got blinded by a soldier. She's in combat.
Her wound healed, she went back to leading her army in several more fights against the Romans. After 3 years of battle, a peace treaty, highly favorable to the Nubians, was signed.
She basically fought the Romans into submission, fellas.
Emperor Caesar Augustus agreed to take his army out of Egypt, to give the Nubians back their land, and to cancel all taxes.
It was too hard to hold on to. Basically, what happened was they fought them so hard, it was too hard for them to hold on to. You mean we can, y'all not gonna roll over? We gotta fight y'all every time. We can't do this. They got up out of there. That's a lesson you guys can learn. If you're willing to fight from the front, they're gonna leave. They can't deal with that.
The Nubian kingdom survived for another 400 years. In its history, the legacy of Queen Amanirenas is assured. Later, during colonial domination, some Nubian people were co-opted into the British Army and even fought in the Second World War. Upon their return, they were settled in Kenya's capital city. That is why there is a significant Nubian population today in Kibra in Nairobi.
The Nubian community of Kenya is composed of 100,000 descendants of people originally from the territory of the Sudan. They were brought in as conscripts to the British colonial army. On demobilization, the colonial authorities refused to allow Nubians to return to Sudan. Instead, they were settled in Kibera and Nairobi and other parts of Kenya where they still live today. Ever since Kenya became an independent British, ever since Kenya became independent from British rule in 1963, Nubians have been denied basic citizenship rights. Their status as British protected citizens combined with their Arab appearance and customs meant that the post-independence government viewed them as foreigners, as a relic of the country's colonial past, and have been made stateless. Although Nubians have been settled in Kenya for 100 years, and are counted as one of the 44 communities in Kenya, their citizenship has not been assured to date. You can imagine why. They ain't forgot the fact that they beat the Romans. This is who we're dealing with. So here's the thing. Let's read a little bit more. And if you guys appreciate this, make sure you hit the thumbs up sign. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Let me know you appreciate what I'm doing here, fellas. This is important. Here's some more stuff you should understand. When the kingdom collapsed in 1070 BCE, which means before the Common Era, the kingdom of Kush became the dominant power in the Nubian region. In 727 CE, the Kushite king Pi launched a successful campaign in Egypt, which led to the establishment of the 25th dynasty of pharaohs. They ruled from 611 before the Common Era invasion of Egypt by the Assyrians, which led to the eventual demise of the Kushite rule of Egypt in 654 BC. Despite this, the sack of their capital, Napata, which we looked at earlier, this is Napata right here. Let me see. In 592 BCE, the kingdom of Kush continued to survive in Nubia for 900 years more. So Nubia was around in 350 when Mansa Musa made his trip from Mali. Okay, so if he made his, I think it was 325. So when he was coming, when Mansa Musa was traveling here, right? Nubia was here. King, this is where it was. You see what I'm saying? It was still around, right? So you know, this is recent history, fam. This is not, well, not 350 BC, but what I'm saying is this is recent history. This is not 10,000 years ago. We can trace this back. We know where we are. All right. But yeah, but it was not 350, it was 1350. So it was 1,000 years later that Mansa Musa made his trip. But the bottom line is the region is still in place. This powerful kingdom was driven by women, with multiple rulers being female and earning the nickname of Kushite queens. These women were seen as being responsible for both their own rule and the establishment of their sons as rulers. They could also depose their sons should they wish. Royal women were also granted the power to order a king to commit suicide, a request that he was obliged to follow. These women were called Kandake, depending on the source of material. The addition of the word showed that she ruled independent of a king and was responsible for leading her own army. These women had to get out front and lead from the front. All right, these were not women that sat home and claimed feminism and then told you to go out there and die. These women had to lead from the front. The first Kandake is believed to be Makeda, who was thought to have ruled sometime between 1005 and 950 before the Common Era. Although the information is vague, Makeda is said to be the inspiration behind the biblical figure of the Queen of Sheba from the Old Testament, who dated to 1000 BCE and ruled Ethiopia. Unfortunately, her existence is yet to be confirmed by archaeological evidence. All right, so this is information. It's all here for you guys to check it out. This is another photographic rendering of Queen Amanirenas, okay, who ruled Kushland, and President Sudan. In the absence of this is how Amanirenas and her son Akidan continued the quest after her late husband. We talked about this a little bit. In the absence of the Roman prefect Aelius Gallius, the Kushites attacked the Romans in the heat of the fierce battle. The queen lost her eye. Undeterred, she charged her troops to walk on the formidable Roman army and claim victory. The astonished Roman rivals admire her strength and unrivaled courage. They had never been defeated in their own province, aiding in the fact that she was a one-eyed queen. Among the loot of victorious Kushites, listen to this, fellas. Among the loot of the victorious Kushites was a decapitated bronze head of the powerful Roman Emperor Augustus Caesar. Amanirenas placed the glorious head of Augustus beneath the steps of the temple for all who passed to walk on. By 25 BC, the Kushites controlled important Roman cities like Cyrene, Philly, and series of forts in southern Egypt. Run, Roman, run. Plebeius Petronius, a new Roman prefect, drove the Kushites out of Cyrene and advanced the Roman troops further into Kushland to set a new border. Queen Amanirenas retaliated ferociously and fed her prisoners of war to her pet lions. The scared Romans quickly retreated. Amanirenas, and mind you, Amanirenas in her wisdom negotiated terms to favor the Kushites entirely. In the absence of war and taxes, the Kushites grew strong in military power and wealth, which durably neutralized the potency of the Roman army in the region. The proceeds of such favorable events made Bawa the capital of Kushland, a prominent city in Africa for centuries. Her legacy: Queen Amanirenas died in Dakar. Kandake Aminikamito succeeded Amanirenas. Aminihakito, like all empresses who came after her, Amanirenas bore the title Kandake to attribute to the majesty. All right, so her unique strength, rare courage, and outstanding wisdom secured the sovereignty and prosperity of the Kushland for many years. Okay, so this is what African queens were like. This is what real strength is like. If you appreciate what I'm doing, fellas, make sure you hit the #1 button if you can. Again, we are operating on members only. If you members have any questions, if you want to come in, I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. This is another photograph of the sister, of this beautiful African queen from Kush, right? This is it. This is it. It's all here for you guys to look at. The ancient kingdom of Kush was located just south of Egypt in what is now the Sudan, and is referenced as part of the region known as Ethiopia. I want you guys to look at this again. This is Egypt right here, okay? This is gonna be, that's Cairo. This is the country of Egypt. This is where Kush was, okay? This is all Kush. This is all dark. This is all black Africans. There's no disputing that. This is where our people were. All right, this is where our ancestors were. They ran that. They weren't around here walking around in look at that. She draped in gold. This is how these sisters were looking. Look at that, all that gold on. Warrior queen. Kush was a land of kings and queens who had mastered their terrain and knew how to use it to their strategic advantage. A land whose royal family members, much like Egypt, were buried in pyramids. Hot and dry, strategically watered by the Nile, this is the land of Kandake, the Kandakes, a great woman, a queen. Kandake in the Meroitic tongue referred to the sister of the king of Kush, who due to matrilineal succession would bear the next heir to the throne, making her queen mother. The word is Latinized as Candace, right? So that word Candace, that's what that means. Kandake was a prominent and important member of the society. Having her own courts and lands in Roland region. But every now and then one who would rise to become not only Kandake, but king as well, meaning ruling queen. A fully independent ruler whose husband was her consort. And in Kush, this was not an uncommon happening. According to research, the Kandakes were portrayed in their art as having strong, even muscular statures and towered over their enemies, in contrast with their female Egyptian neighbors to the north, who preferred to be portrayed as slim and slender. So basically, these was big, strong, solid women. That's what they said. It towered over their little pipsqueak opponents. These are big, strong, solid women, right? Muscular. The Kandakes and their kings had scars on their faces, which they wore with pride as symbols of beauty. These were warriors right here, fellas. These are lists of all. You got Amanirenas, you got Shana Kandake, you got Amanirenas, Amani Shakito, Amani Shakahito, Amori Tori, Amani Tere, Amani Kakistan, Mali. You got all these names here. I'm sure all their stories and journeys equally fascinating. But one caught our attention, and that was Amanirenas. Amanirenas, the one-eyed conductor. Her husband had died in battle, and she and her son faced off against the Romans. And remember, her son was set up to be the king, right? She was the one that started. She could also ask him to kill himself or command him to commit suicide, I guess, for whatever violations, of the code that he didn't follow. During her reign, the Romans overcame Cleopatra. During her reign, Rome overcame Cleopatra and Mark Antony in Egypt, and Emperor Augustus had set his sights further south. Kush was next. The great queen bided her time and struck a mighty blow when the Romans were distracted with another campaign elsewhere. Then she and her armies invaded Roman Egypt and captured 2 cities, expanding their kingdom northward. They defaced several statues of the Roman Empire, chopping off his head. One head she took and planted beneath one of her temples, taking great delight that her people would be trampling on the head of the Roman emperor daily. The Romans, as you can imagine, were not pleased with her victory. Imagine the Romans out there like, we can't let these people beat us, because if we let these people beat us, then everybody else think the Gauls are up and all these other barbarians will think they can beat us. You see, the Romans, as you can imagine, were not pleased with her victory. Their emperor demanding a response, and so Rome retaliated relatively quickly, recaptured the cities that the Amanirenas had taken and pushed their way into the kingdom of Kush as far as Napata. Again, Napata is going to be this place right here, right where the Nile River curves up and goes down right before it turns into the Blue Nile and the White Nile. So this is all your stories, family. She retaliated swiftly over and over, repeatedly putting terror into the hearts of the enemies of her kingdom. It is said that she fed her captives to her lions and set war elephants, like the great general Hannibal, and set war elephants against them. The war between Rome and Kush lasted for 5 years. Eventually, the Romans capitulated and negotiated. They had to get the hell out of there. And they negotiated with the great queen. We don't want no taxes. We don't want nothing. We're going to get our land. We're getting up out of here. That's basically what this is not easy. That's what the Romans felt like. The terms that had Rome leave Kush and the kingdom, put not paying tribute to the emperor while enjoying increased trade between Rome and Kush. Various historical accounts question some of the abilities of the victories of the great queen, saying the climate was not favorable to the Roman soldiers. But in other words, they got to make a reason why they got their butts handed to them. But the truth is they got their butts handed to them because they wasn't ready. They underestimated their enemy. But anyway, we'll talk for a little while about this conversation. Look, if you want to talk about this, I have some more information I want to share with you. But these are the type of strong Black women that we want to have, right? These are the type of strong Black. If you want to talk about Africa being matriarchal, then that means you're going to get out there. You're going to have to show the men that you can be more manly than they are in this form, fighting and dying. This is the matriarchal that we talk about. So anybody who wants to join in the conversation, come on in. Let's talk about Queen Amanirenas. Anybody who wants to share more information about Africa and this, let's talk about it. this is a beautiful story of success. But these are the type of stories that they don't want to talk about. These are the type of stories that are not something that European scholars want to bring up, because it shows Black people, even a Black woman, beating the greatest army of ancient times, the Romans. And so this is not a conversation that they want to have. And so we need to always talk about it. This is something that we need to discuss. So keep that in mind. I have some video footage I want to share with you, a little bit here and there, a little more, because I think this is important, right? You guys like what I'm doing here? If you appreciate the conversation, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Again, this is a members only video, so make sure you join and become a member. Join the team, and make sure that you show your appreciation. But here's another video that I'd like to share with you guys on this subject. We'll check it out. All right. And shout out to everybody, all of my members. So let's check this out, fellas. We'll be right back with this.
From World is Home Team here, and I'm back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And today, I wanted to speak about the greatest queen in African history, Queen Amanirenas. And as always,
I want to make sure I give a shout out to the home team. Y'all guys, make sure y'all check out his channel, okay? Because he has a great channel. He's doing a lot of work over there, and so we want to make sure we give support to him. So this is where I'm getting this video from. I'll let it go ahead and play at this point.
As always, if you want to support the home team, you can do so on patreon.com. I have some new rewards for you guys, so be sure to check that out. Also, go to afrographics.com, a website where you can find unique illustrative infographics summarizing African history. All links to Patreon, Afrographics, and home team merchandise are in the description box below. I personally found it strange that we in the diaspora never really spoke much about Queen Amanirenas. I can understand why popular culture may not, but within our own circles, it would seem as though she would come up more frequently. She tends to be overshadowed by more popular queens from the continent, such as Nefertiti, Hatshepsut, or, unfortunately, Cleopatra. Our own communities do a little better with focusing on other queens like Queen Nzinga or even Queen Tai, but given the grand accomplishment of Queen Amanirenas, I thought she would be more recognized. And as the title of this video suggests, I believe she's the greatest queen from the African continent. Not only that, but I also think she's one of the greatest queens in world history altogether. I even created an anime.
Now, why is it that you think we don't hear about this African queen, Amanirenas? Because she whooped the Roman Empire at the height of its power. That's why. Kicked Julius Caesar. This is not something that Julius Caesar, Augustus says. This is not something they talk about.
Animated video summing up her story because it's one of the most triumphant stories of an African queen, and it's something that we should be highlighting much more. In my view, she definitely deserves the shine that other African queens get, and I really think it's a shame she doesn't. The closest thing I could think of concerning any sort of significant recognition of Queen Amanirenas in popular culture perhaps comes from Will Packer and his supposed future production of her story. The film, called Warrior Queen, was apparently acquired by Universal Studios, and if this is true, that would be pretty big considering not many people in the diaspora know this history. Now, I have my own speculations as to why Queen Amanirenas may not be as well known as other African queens, but I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions. To put things in proper perspective, we have to understand the region in which she came from and why her legacy is so important. Queen Amanirenas was a Kushite queen from Meroe. After the fall of the Kushite Empire, or 25th dynasty of Egypt, the Kushites moved their capital to Meroe. Meroe then became a lot more popular due to the ancient world talking about the warrior queens of Kush, queens who literally participated in battle. Queen Amanirenas is important because she descends from a long line of women warriors, and she no doubt pulled from that energy to become the greatest queen in Africa. It was because of the Nubian queens that came before her why she was able to do what she did. So, who is Queen Amanirenas, and why do I think she is the greatest African queen on the continent? Queen Amanirenas came to the throne around 20 BC, and she's among the most accomplished queens of Kush because of her role leading Kushite armies against.
Just take a look at that. Just take a look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. Beautiful brown skin, beautiful draped in gold, one-eyed queen, a warrior queen, nonetheless.
The Romans in a war that lasted about 5 years. The Romans under Petronius apparently wanted to tax Nubians living in Egypt, which she naturally opposed. The Romans at the time controlled Egypt, and Petronius wanted to challenge Kush and make them a sort of vassal state. Queen Amanirenas initially waged a successful campaign against the Romans in Egypt, even taking the head of a statue in the form of Augustus and burying it under her temple so her people can symbolically trample over Rome. Petronius, of course, struck back and drove the Kushites southward. 2 years later, Queen Amanirenas gathered a large Kushite force and met the Romans. The Romans, however, encountered many difficulties navigating the Nubian region and saw fit not to engage further, and thus a final battle never actually occurred. The Kushite perspective is unclear as we can't decipher the Nubian Meroitic text, but it's clear that the Romans did not engage further south and strategically withdrew. Queen Amanirenas is remembered by the Romans as being brave and blind in one eye due to her literal participation in battle. Under her rule, Kush secured its borders away from Roman ambition. A wall painting in a pyramid chapel of Meroe portrays Amanirenas with bows, arrows, and spears, holding by one hand a tethered group of 7 captives. And this is why I consider Queen Amanirenas to be the greatest queen in African history. There was no other queen in Africa who took on such a great threat, going on to safeguard the integrity of their state. She accomplished her objective in protecting her people by maintaining their independence. What greater objective is there for any monarch? The Kushites and the Romans eventually signed a treaty, and in this treaty, the Kushites got everything they wanted, including having the resented tax revoked. Her presence on the battlefield was documented by eyewitnesses, as she's described in Strabo's account as having a scarred eye or blinded eye, as mentioned before. Her bravery and composure in conflict with Rome is absolutely legendary, as she halted potential Roman ambition in the region. According to legend, Kushite ambassadors in their diplomatic dialogue with the Romans are quoted as bringing a message from the queen. One of the Kushite envoys gallantly presented the Romans a beautiful bundle of golden arrows and said the following words: "This gift is from the Candace. If you want peace, this is a token of her warmth and friendship. If you want war, keep the arrows, because you are going to need them." It's clear that Queen Amanirenas did not appear before the Romans as a beaten foe because of the aggressive message she brought to them. That has to be one of the most epic responses in world history, especially considering who the message was directed toward, arguably the most powerful military on earth at the time. Her leadership, guidance, determination, and grit is second to none when it comes to African queens. And given all that history, I find it odd that her name doesn't roll off our tongue like other African queens. Hopefully, someday that'll change. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out in its continued production, please consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.
All right, you guys make sure y'all check out the home team history. Big fan of his work. We got some guys in here today, Salam and Chris. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing today? Salam and Chris, how are you fellas today? Unmute yourself. Hello?
Glad to be here. Thank you for keeping this up.
Chris, how you doing today, Chris? Chris, unmute yourself.
Doing well. Thanks for asking, man.
All right, man. What are you?
Yeah,
So we're talking about Queen Amanirenas. Salam, you're up first. We're talking about Queen Amanirenas. What are your thoughts? Why is it that we don't hear more about Queen Amanirenas? Salam. Hello, Salam. Okay. Well, Chris, why is it that we don't hear more about Queen Amanirenas?
Well, it goes back to the programming. They told us we came from, people in huts and savages. So our history is really whitewashed, and that's why I'm really grateful you're doing this. That's really what
Well,
I
I mean,
came on to let you know.
okay, cool. Well, what do you think about the story? I mean, what do you think about what she was able to do? Basically, Egypt had given up to Rome, and Cleopatra was like, "Come on in, Daddy. It's yours. All I have is yours." And then Queen Amanirenas said, "No, it's not going to happen." What do you think about her grit and her toughness? What do you think about that?
It shows that the fighting spirit is within us, and if we put our mind to any challenge, it can be overcome. And we're tough people, especially if we stay on the front foot. So it's a good inspiration. It shows that we got good, strong women throughout history.
Thank you. This is a beautiful photograph. It's a rendition of some Nubian archers. And this is the one that was actually I got too. So I just thought this is actually from that movie Gladiator. And this is where they based it from. So even in that movie, they know they got their butts whooped, by the Nubians. But this is not something we bring up. Salam, are you there yet? Are you back?
I'm here. I'm here.
All right. So what else do you have to add to this conversation?
Okay, hold on. Give me like 1 minute real quick. Hold on.
All right. Anybody else who wants to join in, the link is in the chat room. In the meantime, look, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So, hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you. Oh, Salam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. How you doing?
All right, what would you like to add to this conversation?
I just want to ask some questions. So this is Nubian history, and being that Africa is a large continent, would you say you identify with the Nubians specifically?
What I'm doing is I'm pointing out the fact that this is our history, brother. You understand? Asking me, do I identify with the Nubians? When you say identify, what do you mean? This is 2,000 years after this incident happened. I live in the great state of Texas, in the city of Houston. These are our African ancestors. That's what I say. What's your question?
Because my thing is like,
where are you from?
Those of us that I'm from California.
Okay.
But
right.
those of us that came that were transported over to the Americas, or specifically North America, most of our ancestry comes from West Africa.
Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at this right here. You see this map that I have here?
Yeah.
All right. Now, when you say West Africa, tell me where West Africa stops.
Okay. When I say West Africa, we're talking about Mali, Guinea, Senegal, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Cameroon, all the way down to Angola.
Now,
so
have you studied the transatlantic slave trade?
I'm very familiar with it.
All right, so when did it start? When did the Portuguese first hit? When did the Portuguese first hit Angola?
I want to say the late 1400s, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. So how long did it take for them to clear out all of these people on this West Coast?
Well, the Portuguese started it. The
How long
Iberian
did it take?
Peninsula.
How many years did it take? How many centuries did it take for them to clear out all these people on the West Coast?
I say up until the 18th century. I mean, up to
Took less
1800s.
than 100 years. And then what did they have to do after that?
You're talking slavery, right?
I'm talking. They wanted bodies on them ships. What did they have to do after that, brother?
What do you mean? What did they have to do after that?
After they cleared out all these bodies, okay, so 1492 happened. The first slaves start getting shipped over to Brazil and South America from Angola and all these little places up in here, Democratic Republic of Congo. They start snatching them out of there, and then within the first century, basically this was empty. That's why the king of Angola, he wrote a letter to the Portuguese king in Lisbon and said, hey, you got to regulate this because you guys are snatching all our people out of the Congo. This is the Congo right here, brother. You see the Congo?
I know the Congo.
All right, so where is Kush?
Kush is over there in Sudan.
Where is the Sudan? No, there's no such thing as North Sudan. There's Sudan. And at that time, this was all one region. So this is the Democratic Republic of Congo right here. You understand? This is where the brother was writing and saying, y'all done snatched all our people out of here. Who do you think they were going for then? Because see, it was not just here. It started happening all of it. How far in did you say they go?
I said they went from Senegal all the way down to Angola.
From Senegal to Angola, but specifically the king of the Congo was saying, you snatching all our people out of here too. Where's the Congo?
Right, but the Congo back then is not the same geographic borders of the Congo.
You're
now.
right. It was bigger.
That's debatable.
Yes,
because
it was. I did a program on it last week. It was bigger.
So what's the difference between the Bakongo kingdom and the kingdom of Luango?
Okay,
let me ask you
another question. Where does West Africa, this is the first question I asked you. Where does West Africa stop?
West Africa is a geographical region. Okay, it extends on the west coast of Africa, so all the way down to Angola.
Okay, but
West and Central Africa.
Look like the west coast of Africa to me if we're in the Democratic Republic of Congo, brother.
It lies on the Atlantic Ocean, therefore it is.
Have you been to the Democratic Republic of Congo?
You asked me a question. I'm telling you that it lies on the.
Have you been to Africa? Have you been to any country in Africa?
No.
Okay. So do you see these rivers? See, here's another thing you got to understand. See these rivers right here? This channel of rivers? My whole point was this. They had wiped out so many Africans. And the brothers were up here in Morocco, and we talked about this last week, this Tahiti, that little city that was, all of these rivers were used to go all the way inside the interior of Africa. See these rivers? See this chain of rivers right here? Yeah, that's how they got into the interior of Africa. At the point 100 years after slavery started, and the king of England basically deregulated and said it's a free-for-all. They were going in here capturing any and everybody they could. In fact, what was at that time the king of the Congo said, "Look, man, you guys got to regulate. You got to get these people under control. They're still in our royalty. They're still in our blacksmith. They taking everybody. They were all up in here, brother."
Hold on. Which river specifically?
Look at all these rivers. I want you to look. There's plenty of them. Look at all these rivers in here. See all these little blue rivers up in there? There's one. All that. They had all that. They were all up in here, man. You see, this is what I'm saying. Africans were taken from all in here because they were the white Europeans. What they didn't care where you got them from. They didn't care where they came from. They were snatching bodies. And at the point where they ran out of bodies, Black Africans to take them this way, they start going deeper into the interior. So what you're trying to say is, this is what you're trying to say. And I appreciate the attempt. I understand where you're coming from. You're trying to say,
you haven't heard me out.
No,
you haven't heard me out.
No. What the brother is trying to say is that because the Sudan is over here, okay, and our African ancestors that, based on the history that he has, are from over here, which he calls the West Coast of Africa, then we have nothing to do with these people over here. That's like saying people in Louisiana have nothing to do with people in Alabama, Mississippi, Texas. These rivers were like corridors, you see. And in fact, the people that came from here will tell you that their history started here. You see? Salam, are you still there? Unmute yourself.
I'm here.
The migration says that these people who ended up over here say that they came from over here. You understand what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true. I hear what you're saying. No, what you haven't fully heard my position. Yes, there are oral traditions in West Africa that say they came from the east.
Genetic traditions that show that these people over here are related to these people over here. That's DNA. Not oral tradition, it's DNA. They mapped the human genome. They know that these people were over here.
Which people are you saying related? Which ones?
I'm saying that the sub-Saharan Africans that we call, this is the Sahara here, up here. The
Correct.
Sub-Saharan Africans over here are related to these Africans over here because these rivers were used as corridors. That's what I'm saying. That's obvious. However, they will tell you they migrated from over here and over there. You understand what I'm saying? So what you're doing is I appreciate what you're trying to do, but the science doesn't support you. These people were related genetically. What else would you like to add to this conversation?
So you know about haplogroups, correct? Since you're still
I do,
genetics,
very familiar with it.
Okay, so which
what is your educational background, sir?
See, you're deflecting. You're trying to make
I'm just asking because mine is a PhD in environmental molecular toxicology.
You're European
biology. So what is your educational background, sir?
It doesn't matter because you're deflecting and you're
trying
to. Why don't you just
answer the question? Because it depends on what terminology I'm going to use to communicate with you. Like if you're a lay person, I'm going to talk to you in lay terms. If you're a scientist, we can have that conversation. What is
just discuss with me? You're not talking,
sir. You can't. You got to answer the questions so we can have a conversation. Okay. What is your educational background, sir?
Can you hear me?
What is your educational background, sir? Is it in science? Is it in English? What is it? What is your educational background?
I don't have a formal education.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, go ahead and say your piece, sir, please.
Okay, so when we talk about Sudan, when we talk about what is today known as South Sudan, that's inhabited predominantly with Nilotic tribes. Nilotic tribes carry the haplotype A, which is one of the oldest.
So I got to ask you another question. When was the North Sudan and the South? When was Sudan and the South Sudan? When were they one country or one nation? Are you familiar with the history of that country?
Yes, I'm familiar with the history of it.
When did they become two nations?
It's just like Egypt was Upper and Lower Egypt, or Upper and Lower Kemet or Kush, or Kemet. I'm sorry, Kemet. Same thing with Kush. It was Upper and Lower Kush as well. So,
okay, sir, what is the history of the Sudan region, sir?
What is the history of the Sudan region? The history of Sudan, it was Nubia, it was Meroe or whatever, Naplata. Whenever it was formerly it was Christian.
What year,
Christian
sir?
Nubia at one
what
point.
Year, sir? What year?
So you're being condescending. If you want to have a
From
discussion, or do you want to talk down?
1956 to 2011, it was all one place. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That just happened. So you referred to it at you do, but you didn't say it, brother. What I'm trying to do is
I don't know what your angle is. You're trying.
Okay, hold on a minute. So what you guys have to understand is that the European nations came in and carved all of this up and named it out in the different territories and whatnot. And so before that, this was kingdoms and regions. It wasn't a country here and a country there. So there was overlap. The Songhai Empire expanded all up through here. This was the Almoravid territory, Morocco, Mauritania, Algeria, Libya. This was where the Crusades, not the Crusades. This is where the Almoravid kingdom was. You had this part, and then you had the part that extended up into the Iberian Peninsula. What the brother is basically, he's trying to say that we had nothing to do with these people over here because they were over here and we were over here. But that's not true. There was these shipping channels, these rivers, people being taken from in the interior Africa. But either way, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about African heritage. We're talking about Black people that look like you. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about an African queen who overtook and beat the Roman Empire. That is the conversation that we're having today. And this brother is not really, getting the greater message here, but that's okay. We'll let him continue to talk, and then we'll go to Chris. Chris, what else? I mean, Salam, what else would you like to add before we go on to the next person? What you laughing at, brother? Why are you laughing?
No, I'm laughing because.
All right, I'll see you later. Chris, what else would you like to say to this conversation? Chris, what else would you like to add?
I just want to get at my man here real quick.
No, people, it's okay. He can say what he wants, but that's not, we're not talking about geography tonight. We're talking about the success of this African queen, Kush, and that's what I want to talk about. Man. I don't want to get sidetracked talking about.
He lives in California.
Right. Well, let's not talk about the brother. We don't want to disrespect the brother.
This man Black.
We just, what'd you say? Well, no, he's a brother, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. And it's kind of like a distraction. I want to talk. He has no formal education in science, but he wants to talk about, but that's okay. The bottom line is this is a success story of an African Kushite queen who beat the Roman Empire. Exactly. And there are lessons that we can learn from. But go ahead, Chris. All right. So either way, Salam, you back up. What else you want to say about this thing, Salam? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, you're supposed to be the PhD. So talk
sir,
about
what else? I said, what else would you like to add to the conversation, sir?
You won't let me add anything because you keep muting me.
I know, because you're being kind of feisty here. What else you want to say about?
I'm not being feisty,
brother. We talking about the success of this African queen beating the Roman Empire, and you want to talk about. You want to have a DNA comparison conversation in geography. We're not talking about geography tonight per se. We're talking about this African woman who beat the Roman Empire over a 5-year war. Why is it that you can't stay to that subject? Why do you have to come in and talk about something else? And why are you laughing, Salam? And why is your name Salam?
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing, dude.
Go ahead and say what you got to say, brother. This is not that channel.
Hold on.
Come on, man. Say what you got to say. Go ahead, brother.
The other guy's talking, so I can't hear.
Don't worry about him.
What I'm saying. My position is simple.
Nah, let me get him.
But Chris, let him finish talking. Chris, let him talk. Go ahead.
Gosh, man. All right. So it was never to derail the conversation. My intention was never to derail the conversation.
It sounded like you were trying to do, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been trying to get it out. My whole thing is, I said the Nubia's history is great. It's good. And I'm sure you know about Songhai, you know about Mali, you know about the Moravids up in Morocco and so on and so forth. So obviously you're familiar with other parts of African history. I was just asking the simple question, are we claiming this specific part of history as ours? And you're saying it is ours based on the quote unquote fact that they're Black. I went to a deeper discussion. You challenged my credentials to go into that discussion.
Okay, why is it not part of our history? Let me ask you that way. Why is this not part of our history?
My position is I've dealt with many Africans, continental Africans. I know them for many, many years, and that Africans are very tribal people, and they don't claim other African people's cultures. So here in America, because of our history and our experience, we have a thing of consolidating all Africans as our people. So when you say that, I was wondering, is that the position you're taking?
Brother,
Are
I'm
you saying that?
talking about this African queen from Nubia who looks like many of our sisters, who helped conquer or fought a war over 5 years against the Roman Empire, which was the most powerful Roman Empire, most powerful empire at the time, with a smaller army, and ran them out of her homeland. Now, what do you have to say about that conversation? Because that's what we're focused on.
You say you're talking
Salam.
about the small army. I'll let Chris rock. Go ahead, Chris.
No, you answer the question. I'm directing the question to you. What do you have to say about her accomplishments as a Black Kushite queen?
I salute it.
Well, then that's all you had to say, man. You ain't got to do all that other stuff. What's that? Don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Chris, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? What else you like to add to this conversation, brother?
Hey, brother. Just give me 1 second to put my headset on.
Oh, that's Afro Patriot. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is a really dope conversation. I studied this queen a while back.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was trying to make a profile of her, audio profile of her, a while back, and yeah, there's not a lot of stories known too much about her.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think these history? I've never seen her on the History Channel. I've never seen her on Military Science Channel. They talk about Cleopatra. I've never heard anything about this queen. Why do you think that is?
Because I think it's two. This is something I asked, and I got 2 answers for. One, it kills the narrative that Black women are incompetent. That Black women are incompetent, and then 2, from the Black bourgeoisie side, it kills the narrative that we lack, that that Black women have no femininity. I mean that Black women. This would be like saying that Black women have no femininity because look at this queen, she was so masculine, and from the Black bourgeoisie side, there's a fear of being seen too masculine.
Okay, but see, the thing is, I think there's another element in it, right? Remember, this queen in the kingdom of Kush fought against the Roman Empire in its heyday, not in a deteriorating state 100 years after 100 years AD. They whipped their butt in their heyday. Julius, King Caesar Augustus and all, Mark Antony, Cleopatra and all, ran them out of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? And made them tuck tail and run, and negotiated terms that were favorable to the Nubians. So not only, and she led from the front. This sort of bravery, I think, is inspirational, right? And if it's one thing for them to say, yeah, you got that Shaka Zulu guy and that Hannibal guy and all that. But when you start talking about, you mean even a woman can beat them if properly motivated? I think that, plus the fact that we're dealing with a system of white supremacy racism, they definitely don't want a story like this to get out, because this countervails the prevailing story that they whooped us and they've been whooping us and we've been overcome and blah 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 blah. That's kind of what I did. That's why this has been buried in history. That too.
You don't want to hear a black woman technically took on one of the greatest empire, ancient empires, so called, and great ancient empires in Rome, and had them shaking in their boots.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, that just kills the whole narrative of how powerful Rome was. That a woman led a powerful army that technically not from the palace, but on the field, on the battlefield, and they had the Romans tucking tail and running.
And see, the thing is, it wasn't just any Caesar. It wasn't like this was a minor Caesar. This was Augustus Caesar. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's a good. Yeah, this is who got his hat handed to him. But anyway, we're gonna go to Chris and we're gonna go back to Salam. Chris, what else would you like to add to this conversation? Chris, you gotta unmute yourself, Chris. Chris, unmute yourself. What else would you like to add? And those of you
I
who
just
appreciate this, go ahead, Chris. What else you want to add? Go ahead, Chris. All right, we lost Chris. Salam, what else would you like to add to this?
reiterate that
Go ahead.
you either one power or you don't. We look like those people. That's our history. Black civilization.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. But either way, you can be motivated. You can be motivated by what this woman did, her tenacity, her wisdom, her statesmanship, her warrior skills. You know, it stands for something. And this is what I mean, this is what you can look at these ancient heroes, and you can basically recognize that, hey, I can see myself and see elements of myself in that and be motivated. Salam, what else would you like to add to this conversation?
Nothing. This is just good. I'm just listening.
All right, I appreciate it. Well, Afro Patriarch, man, I'm glad you guys came out. I think that I think this has been interesting, and I think you guys, I think everybody in the chat room, I think folks appreciate this. You know, sure, we can talk about Quavo. You know, we can talk about Cardi B. We can talk about Sweetie singing it out Venice Beach. But at some point, you need some food. You need something real, something tangible, something that you can talk about later. You can debate about, just like Salam and I were debating about. You're going to run across folks with every perspective they want to talk about, and that's great. As a matter of fact, the most important thing you got to understand is that we're talking about it. Whether you, whether you appreciate the story or not, now you know the story of Queen Amanirenas. That's the most important part. You know the story of Queen Amanirenas. You can look it up on your own. You can analyze it. This is the one-eyed queen of Kush who fought against the Roman Empire in a 5-year war and ousted them from her homeland. This is not a story that we've been taught before. This is not a story that has been brought up. And you can argue back and forth about whether it's important or whether it's not. Even like Salam and I, whether or not we as African Americans, who many of us have come from a certain 6 regions on the west coast of Africa, at least at the time that we were snatched up. Or you could say, well, I can see the bigger picture and say, hey, you know what? She's still one of ours. Or they're still one of ours. Bottom line is, man, it's an interesting story, and I'm going to keep digging these historical accounts up and bringing them to you guys. Shout out to the Trucker Gang. I know you guys listen to my stuff. Big shout out to Keith Williams. Thank you for the super sticker. And everybody who contributed. Shout out to Chris, Salam, Afro Patriarch. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys for chiming in. This has been interesting.
I
appreciate it. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.